Kite Runner was no longer a forgotten cargo ship. It now carried something the whole galaxy feared. Not weapons, not data. A human girl, something waking up inside her. Raylan knew they were being watched. Dara confirmed it. "There are 3 ships following us," she said. "All cloaked, no transponders." Raylan gave a short nod. "We change course now." Destination. The Forge Moonelia had given them a new destination without explaining why. A moon orbiting a dying star, marked long ago as dead and uninhabitable. But as the Kite Runner landed, they saw signs of something else. Huge towers, half buried in ash dot, old hangars, sealed tight, and strange symbols carved into the stone matching the ones Ilya had drawn in her sleep. "This place isn't dead," said softly. "It's waiting." Inside the forge, the crew entered one of the towers. The air was thin, but breathable. Inside was a long hallway, lined with black metal and broken lights. At the end stood a door. Ilya stepped forward. It opened on its own. Inside was a chamber, a wide circular room with something standing in the end. Center, a machine. But not just a machine, it looked almost alive. The human weapon, the machine glowed softly as Ilya approached. It spoke in a soft voice, female. "Ancient genetic match found. Final weapon ready for activation." Raylan stepped back. "Weapon?" the machine continued. "This is not a gun, not a bomb. This is the final response to galactic threat. The human ascendant." Dara whispered. "It's not a weapon for humans. Wait, it's a weapon of humans." Truth revealed. The machine showed them holograms. Earth long ago before history, and something fell from the sky and went deep underground. It didn't destroy Earth. It merged with it, and over millions of years, shaped the human race quietly, slowly until they were ready, until they were touched enough by suffering and awakened. The galaxy did not fear humans because of what they did, the machine said. It feared what pain would unlock inside them. Elias tested the machine. Asked Ilya a question. "Do you choose to awaken the Ascendant Protocol?" Ilya didn't answer right away. She looked at Raylandura, the people who had protected her. Then she said, "Only if the galaxy touches us again." The machine blinked. Choice accepted. Delay mode engaged. Protocol armed, not active. Chamber dimmed. But now, something inside Ilya was fully awake. Ambush as they returned to the ship. It happened. 3 Varn ships uncloaked overhead. Laser blasts hit the ground near them. A squad of soldiers landed, surrounding them. A tall alien stepped forward. "You've touched forbidden things," he said. "The human weapon must be erased." Raylan raised his hands. "We don't want war." The alien aimed at Ilya and fired. The reaction. The blast never hit her. It stopped in midair, frozen like glass. Then, the world around them changed. The light dimmed. The air stopped moving. Even the sounds vanished. And then, shadows appeared. Eyes opened in the sky. The Varn soldiers fell to the ground, lifeless, silent. No blood, no struggle, just... Raylan turned to Ilya. She wasn't glowing. She was just standing there. But something stood with her. Something no one could see, but felt. A presence older than time. Final scene later. As they flew away from the Forge Moon, Dara asked, "What happened back there?" Raylan answered, "A warning." Leah sat quietly, staring at her hands. "I didn't do it," she whispered. Dara asked, "Then who did?" Ilya replied, "The one who watches through me." Words spread across the galaxy like wildfire. An unknown force had erased an elite Varn strike team. No warship, no fleet.
Just silence.
And at the center of it all, a human girl named Iliadat. Now the galaxy's oldest leaders gathered in secret. A meeting was called on Neutral Station Arsuz, a place where no weapons were allowed. The goal: to stop the return of the Watchers without starting a war with the humans. They called it the Treaty of Silence. A dangerous peace. The station floated above a dead star, surrounded by cloaking fields. Inside, 12 species met around a cold black table. The leader of the Varn Dominion spoke first. We all saw what happened. A human child walked into a forge moon and awoke something ancient. Another alien, a reptilian high chancellor, nodded. She didn't destroy us. Not yet. That means we still have a chance. A third voice, colder than the rest, asked, what if the next human doesn't hold back? Raylan gets a message back. Aboard the Kite Runner. Raylan received an encrypted message. It came from someone he hadn't heard from in years. General Artos, a former human ally who once negotiated with alien species before the breakpoint. His message was short. They're planning a treaty, but it's not peace. It's a trap. They want Elia Contandor. Worse. Meet me on Deep Station Thorn. Come alone. Raylan looked at Ilya. She was staring at the stars again. Quiet, calm, but somehow more distant. Like she wasn't fully human anymore. Deep Station. Thorn Arillan arrived alone at the abandoned station. General Ardos waited in the dark. Older now. Tired, but still sharp. There are 3 parts to the treaty, Ardos said. First, silence about Earth. No one speaks of what's buried there. Second, no more contact with surviving humans in exile colonies. Third, total isolation of Ilya, Raylan asked. And if we refuse? Ardos didn't answer. He just handed Raylan a datapad. On it, a red folder. Ascendant Protocol. Termination plans back on the ship. Dara was watching. Ilya, as she slept, but her vitals were strange. No heartbeat. No breathing. Yet she was alive. Floating slightly above her bed, Dara called Raylan urgently. She's changing again, she said. But this time, we're not just seeing it. We're feeling it. The lights flickered. Tools on the wall began to float. Ilya opened her eyes. They weren't just glowing now. They were reflecting stars that didn't exist. Ilya speaks later. Ilya joined Raylan and Dara on the command deck. Her voice was calm, but layered like 2 people were speaking at once. They want a treaty because they are afraid of what I carry. Dara asked, what do you carry? Ilya replied, a memory, not mine, not Earth's. Something older. A promise that if pain ever touched us again, the stars would answer. Raylan looked down at the datapad. Termination orders were being drafted. We need to move, he said. Ilya turned toward him. No, she said, we wait. Why? 'Cause one of them's already coming. The one who breaks the treaty on neutral station, Orsis. A cloaked figure entered the chamber. Everyone turned to look. The figure removed its hood. It was a human. An old man. Worn, scarred, but definitely human. The alien leaders panicked. Some stood, some screamed. He raised a hand. I came to speak. Impossible, one alien shouted. No human is allowed here. The old man smiled. I never agreed to your treaty. He dropped a small cube on the table. It lit up with the same symbol seen in the forge moon, 3 stars in a circle. And then he said, you forgot who taught fear to the stars? Final scene back on the Kite Runner. Ilya stood in silence. She turned to Raylan. It has begun, she said softly. What? Has he asked. She looked into the void of space and whispered, the remembering. Across the galaxy. Time seemed to slow. Ships stopped mid-flight. Stations reported strange signals. Children began to speak in voices not their own, and on thousands of worlds. People looked to the sky because the stars had changed. New ones had appeared, not natural stars. Not gas or fire. Eyes watching. The old humans messaged back on neutral station Orsis. The old human stood calmly. The cube on the table pulsed with light. I'm not here to threaten you, he said. I'm here to remind you. The alien leaders stared, frozen in fear. You erased us from history, he continued. But you can't erase the truth. He pointed at the stars beyond the window. They're awake now. The first world to fall silent, the planet Drathus. Home to 300 billion souls. Something impossible happened. The entire population stopped moving. Not dead, not asleep, just paused, as if time forgot them. Ships above tried to communicate. No. Response. Then a message appeared on all screens in every language. This is not war. This is memory. Back on the kite, runner Raylan paced the deck. Worlds are going dark, he said. Not from attacks. It's from something else. Dira replied, It's spreading fast. Like an echo waking up. They looked at Ilya. She stood near the window, hands glowing softly. They're not attacking, she said. They're remembering what was promised, Raylan asked. Who? She answered. The first ones. The ones who walked with early humans. The ones who gave us the seed, Dara asked. Seed of what? Leah turned to them. The seed of becoming. Truth about humanity? The cube from the forge had unlocked more files. Raylan opened one. A hidden report. Written by an alien scientist over 600 years ago. Humans should not have advanced this quickly. Their pain response activates dormant code in their cells. The more they suffer, the more they evolve. It ended with a final warning. If the last line is crossed, humanity will remember. What it was made for? Memory across the galaxy, soldier on a distant world, saw a human child stare into his eyes. Suddenly, he saw her memories, not her own, but ancient ones, of giants walking in light, of voices that bent time, of promises made to protect the weak. Then his weapon melted in his hands, and the child whispered, Now you see. Ilya's transformation and the kite runner. Ilya began to change again. Her skin shimmered. Symbols rose along her arms, glowing, pulsing like a heartbeat. Dara stepped back. Is she becoming one of them? Raylan said. No, she's becoming what we were always meant to be. The council panics back on Orsis. The alien leaders argued. The stars are changing. The humans are waking. We waited too long. But the old humans stood calmly. You had centuries to change, he said, but you chose silence. He walked toward the exit. As he passed the Varn general, he said, Tell your people you should not have touched the girl. Final Senelia stood at the front of the kite runner, now fully surrounded by floating lights. She closed her eyes, and then every ship, every station, every planet heard her voice. This is not revenge. This is remembering. You harmed us when we were weak. You feared what we might become, and now we remember. The galaxy had always feared war, but this was something different. There were no fleets, no missiles, no screams, just silence. And everywhere, memory, the great stillness over. 100 alien systems fell silent. Not destroyed, awakened. Planets froze mid-rotation. Time flowed strangely. People fell into a dream state. Seeing visions from Earth's forgotten past, human ancestors walking beside giants of light battles, where thought bent reality a sky torn open. And something stepping through the Ascendant Protocol was no longer a theory. It was real, and now it had a name. Ilya, the final council, the Alien Alliance, met one last time, this time through emergency. Transmissions many leaders didn't show. Up. Some had disappeared. The Varn general, once full of pride, spoke only one sentence. We were never gods. We were never safe. Another whispered, They were never rising. They were returning. Inside the kite, Rhaenyra's body was no longer just human. She glowed softly. But not like fire, more like the echo of stars being born. Her voice was layered with thousands of memories. Raylan sat beside her. Dara stood behind. He asked, Is this the end? Ilya shook her head. It's the first day. The message to the galaxy Elia spoke not from her mouth, but from every screen, every speaker, every mind. Her words were clear. We are not here to rule. We are not here to destroy. But we remember what you did to us, and we will not let it happen again. From now on, no one touches Earth. No one touches human colonies. You will leave us in peace, because now the stars know what happens when you harm a human. The star that blinked in it happened. One star far, far away, blinked out of existence. No explosion, no collapse, just erased. No one knew what it meant, except Ilya. It was not a star, she whispered. Raylan asked, then what was it? She answered, a warning. To the ones beyond even this galaxy. The New Age weeks passed. The galaxy was quiet. Ships flew again. Trade restarted, but no one attacked a human colony ever again. Even pirates turned away. Even empires stopped drafting war plans because everyone remembered and no one dared test the line. Not anymore. Final scene. Earth on Earth. The children began dreaming. Of stars, they drew symbols they had never seen before. Some whispered strange languages in their sleep. And one little girl, standing in a playground, looked up at the sky. She smiled and softly said, we're not alone, and we're not weak. We're just waking up. Title appears. No one dares harm a human now, and the galaxy knows why. In a dark, empty part of space, a large warship floated with no power. No lights, no life. A small scout ship approached carefully. Shining lights into the wreck, inside were only shadows and silence. Then they found a single survivor, the Bounty. Hunter's name was Vorsk, a Zarn bounty hunter. Half of his body was metal, the rest was scarred flesh. He sat in a dark corner, holding a plasma knife shaking. The rescue team asked him questions. He didn't answer, not until they said the word. Human. Then he looked up, eyes wide, voice dry, and he whispered, I watched them. I saw what happens. Story he began to speak. 5 years ago, before the breakpoint, Orsk was hired to catch a human scientist who escaped from a secret lab. He tracked her for 12 days, found her hiding on a mining moon. She begged for her life, she said, please. Don't touch me. Vorsk laughed back then. You think anyone cares about humans? He dragged her outside, tied her to a post. She screamed for help, and then came. The sky broke. Vorsk told the crew what he saw. First, the sky turned black. Then, everything went quiet. No sound, no wind, no machine noise. The stars vanished. Then he saw shadows moving like smoke. But with eyes, one by one, his team began to vanish. No blood, no cries. Just gone. The woman stopped screaming. She smiled and whispered, you shouldn't have touched me. Then she vanished too. Back to the present. Vorsk looked at the crew of the Kite Runner. His voice cracked. I ran. I don't know how, but they let me live. Why you? Raylan asked. Because I watched. I didn't believe, but I watched. And Amelia stepped forward, quiet, calm. You saw the Watchers, she said. Vorsk nodded slowly. Is that what they are? No, she answered. That's just what they do. Raylan asked. Then, what are they? She looked up. They are reminders. The crew starts to fear. Dara sat with Raylan later. Her hands trembled. These things, the ones that came for Vorsk, they're real. Raylan nodded. And they're not machines, not armies, not gods. Dara whispered, then what are humans now? Raylan didn't answer, because he was starting to fear the truth. Meanwhile, the shadows on a hidden moon inside a fortress. Alien leaders gathered. A transmission played. It was Borsky's voice recorded secretly. They are protected by something older than time. One general slammed the table. We waited too long. The humans are changing. Other replied, we need to act before it's too late. The screen showed Ilya's face. The order was given. Find the girl. Kill her. Before she becomes one of them. Final scene. Back on the Kite Runner, Ilya sat near the ship's window, staring at the stars, but tonight, they blinked in patterns, like messages, like someone or something was speaking to her. She closed her eyes, and in her mind, a deep voice said, your kind once walked among us, and soon you will again. The Kite Runner flew into a new system, dark, dusty, full of broken satellites and rusted ships. This place is called Zetranine, Dara said. It used to be a black market hub. Now it's dead. Looked around. We're looking for something that isn't supposed to exist. Ilya stood behind them, quiet as always. But her eyes looked sharper now. They were searching for The human file. The deal they met an alien named Kale, former info broker. He looked like a walking insect, with wires in his chest. You want truth? Kale said. Truth costs blood. Raylan gave him fuel cells and medical packs. Kale handed over a small cube. This holds the only copy of the file you're looking for. But I warn you, he added. If you open this, you'll be hunted by more than just ships. Raylan asked, hunted by who? Kale looked at Ilya and whispered, by the ones who remember. The human file opens back on the ship. Dara activated the cube. A hologram appeared, fuzzy and broken, still readable. It was a report. Marked top threat. Do not distribute. Ilya stepped closer. The report showed a timeline. Year 0, first contact. With humans, Year 2, human colonies spread fast. Year 5, human adaptability noted as unnatural. Year 7, Project Humanity Ascension begins. Raylan read the last line out loud. They found something buried under Earth's surface. Not alien tech. Older than aliens. Alive. The lost recording the file continued. A voice recording played. A human. Scientists panicked, said, We activated it. We didn't mean to. The stars, they responded. We're not alone. What? We've never been alone. What? Then the screen went black. Only one sentence remained. Humanity was chosen. Not for what they are, but for what they might become. What was under Earth? Dara asked. What did we find under Earth? A weapon? A being? Ilya was quiet. Then she spoke. A gate. A gate to what? Raylan asked. To the ones who came before everything, she said. The beginning of the change suddenly. The ship's lights flickered. The cube glowed against this. Time without being touched. Strange symbols appeared in the air. The ship's AI said, Unknown code detected. Cannot translate. Ilya walked toward it, raised her hand, and the symbols obeyed her. The cube opened a hidden file. Inside, a short video. It showed Earth, but different, surrounded by glowing rings of light and humans. Floating, glowing. Speaking with stars, they were not normal anymore. They were something else. Ilya's transformation begins that night. Ilya slept in her cabin. Her skin glowed faintly. She dreamed of walking in a desert made of starlight. Giant beings knelt before her, and one of them said, You are the last echo of the first voice. She woke up crying, but not in fear. In memory, enemies closing in far away. On a Varn warship, the alien general stared at a screen showing the kite runner's location. They've opened the file, he growled. The ascension is active. His second officer asked, Should we attack? No, the general said. We let them keep going. Why? Because if we move too soon, the Watchers might return. Final scene back in the control room. Raylan stared out the window. DeRay joined him. We're not flying with a child, she whispered. We're flying with the start of something bigger. Raylan nodded. But bigger doesn't mean safer. He replied. Behind them, Ilya stood alone, looking at her reflection. She didn't recognize her eyes anymore. They were full of stars. The small ship Kite Runner floated in the cold, dark space. It was old and broken in some places. The crew had little fuel, low food, and almost no hope. They were stuck near the border of a war zone. 2 alien empires, the Zarn and the Felieri were fighting here for months. No ship dared to pass through this area. Explosions, dead satellites, and broken ships filled the space. But the Kite Runner had no choice. Inside the ship, Captain Raylan stared at the blinking screen. We need help, he said. We won't make it another day. His second officer, Dira, looked scared. We can't call anyone. We're in a death zone. No one will answer. Then a soft voice came from behind them. Use the human signal. It was Elia, the quiet human girl they had rescued 2 days ago from a crashed pod. She looked weak. Her arms were covered in burns. She had said little since they found her. Raylan turned around. The human signal. Leah nodded slowly. Send this code, 731A. Say we have a human on board. Raylan hesitated. That's it. That's the message. Yes, she said calmly. They had nothing left to lose. So Dara sent the message to all ships in range. This is the kite runner. We have a human on board. And they waited. Nothing happened for 1 minute. 2 minutes. Then suddenly, lights appeared on the radar. 15 large alien warships. All Zarn and Feliari. They were fighting just minutes ago. Now they stopped moving. Raylan's heart raced. They've seen us. Dara whispered. We're dead. But the ships did not attack. Instead, one by one, they turned and left. Silent, no warnings. No words, just gone. Complete silence. Even the fighting between the two empires ended in that area. The war stopped just for this one small ship. Raylan looked at Ilya. What? What just happened? Ilya closed her eyes. You sent the human signal. They know better now. 5 years earlier, humans were not respected in the galaxy. Most races saw them as weak, emotional, and short-lived. Humans worked in mines, cleaned alien cities, and did dangerous jobs. Some were even sold as slaves. No one feared humans. But one day, everything changed. It began with an attack on a human research ship near the Varan Belt. No one survived, except for a young boy who escaped in an escape pod. The attackers. The Grohl Empire laughed about it on their news feeds. That same night, the Grohl capital lost all power. The next day, their largest moon cracked in half. Then, over the next 2 weeks, their ships began disappearing. No signs, no bodies, no debris, just silence. Then one day a message appeared on every communication screen in the galaxy. It was only 3 words. Do not touch. After that, no one harmed a human again. They called it the breakpoint. But no one knew what really happened. Norielan sat alone in the control room, still thinking about what he saw. He had flown ships for 20 years. He had seen many things: black holes, time storms, alien monsters. But this was different. Why? Are they afraid of humans? He asked Ilya later. She was resting, drinking warm water. She looked at him with calm eyes. It's not humans they fear, it's what protects us. Who protects you? Raylan asked. She smiled gently. The stars, the universe. The silence between worlds. Raylan didn't understand. But deep in his heart, he felt something. A warning. This girl, this species, was not like the others anymore. Later that night, Dara watched over the sleeping Ilya. The girl had no weapons. No armor, no implants. She was just a child. But earlier, the ship's AI had scanned her. The results made no sense. Her DNA had unknown markers. She emitted strange energy waves. The AI called her not fully human. Dara checked the logs again. Project. Humanity Ascension, it said. But there was no date, only a locked file. She leaned back in her chair, whispering to herself, what did humans become? Final scene outside the ship. The stars looked peaceful. But somewhere in that dark sky, something was watching. Not evil, not good, just ancient. Waiting because someone had touched a human. And now, the galaxy would remember why no one dares do that anymore. The kite runner flew through silent space. Heading toward a secret world, Captain Raylan sat in his chair, staring at the star map. This planet doesn't show up on most charts, he said. Dara nodded. That's why we're going. No cameras, no laws, only secrets. The place was called KHORN-7. Long ago, it was home to one of the galaxy's largest libraries, built by machines, guarded by silence. After the breakpoint, it was shut down by a galactic order called 717-Delta. No, one had gone there since. But Ilya, the human girl, said they would find answers there. Planetfall, when they landed. The sky was red. Dust covered the ancient buildings. Metal towers stood like bones from a dead giant. They walked carefully through the ruins. No signs of life. Then they found it. A giant black door with a symbol glowing on it. 3 stars inside a circle. Ilya stepped forward. The symbol blinked. The door opened. Dur gasped. How did it know her? Raylan whispered. Maybe this place remembers humans. The AI librarian inside, a voice spoke, cold and deep. Welcome to the Quran archives. Please state your access level, Raylan answered. We're looking for information about humans, about the breakpoint. Silence. Then the AI replied, access to human. Files is restricted by Order 717 Delta. Classification, universal threat. Ilya stepped forward. I am human. I request access. There was another pause. Then the AI said, biological markers. Confirmed. Access granted under protocol. Carrier of the flame. Screen lit up. Old videos, data files, photos of Earth. And images of alien experiments filled the room. Then, one by one, they disappeared, acted, blacked out. All except one line. The retaliation was not human-made. It was automatic, triggered by pain. What they discovered, Dara read aloud slowly. They tortured a human, and the universe responded. The AI explained more. During the last hours of the human research ship Hopebringer, sensors recorded an unknown energy wave. Origin, non-planetary. Nature, unknown. Time of appearance, exactly 7 seconds after a human screamed in extreme pain. Raylan looked at Ilya. What kind of weapon is that? The AI replied, it is not a weapon. It is a watcher. More secrets? Celia asked quietly. Why did it protect us? The AI showed an image, a map of stars, the areas affected by the retaliation. Whole sectors of space gone dark. Then, at the center, it showed Earth. But Earth was different. It was no longer listed as a planet. Its name had changed. Project. Humanity Ascension. Raylan frowned. What does that mean? The AI said. That information is sealed. Final entry. Let them become what they were meant to be. Outside the library as they left, Dara turned to Raylan. Humans didn't make the retaliation. Something else did. Something bigger, Raylan replied. And whatever it is, it follows them. Behind them, the black door closed forever. In orbit, watching high above the planet, an alien ship floated in silent stealth mode. Inside, an officer from the Varn Dominion watched the kite runner through cold eyes. They activated the AI, he said to his commander. The commander nodded. Then they'll lead us to the truth. Follow them, but stay hidden. The officer asked, and if they find the full human file? The commander's voice dropped. Then we erase them, before they erase us. Final scene. Back on the kite runner, Ilya sat alone, staring at her hand. A small light blinked under her skin. Shape appeared, 3 stars in a circle. She didn't know how it got there, but deep inside, something had awakened, a memory that didn't belong to her. A voice spoke in her mind. You are not the first, but you may be the last.